651 Carpets Plus Studio. Gaardsy in for Barreiro today. What day is it? Tuesday, December 30th. The Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line, 64686. That's open. The talkback is open. We might service some of those as well. Brett Blakemore here for his double shift. Brett, you typically work on Saturdays, correct?
I do.
What follows Beyond the Pond 10 to noon? Because Beyond the Pond is 10 to noon, right?
That's correct.
On most Saturdays. So what usually happens on Saturdays at noon? Do we kick it right to a game? Is it usually Fox programming? Is it like the podcast of the week for iHeartRadio? What usually comes up?
Well, I'm old enough to remember when it was Saturdays with Sauce.
Those were the days.
Or Rest in Peace.
Yeah.
Along with the Cake Show.
Those were the days.
It's either a game. It could be the iHeart podcast of the week. Could be a variety of things, or just kicking it to the bird for Fox.
Let's see if we can find the podcast of the week music somewhere, like a liner from one of the random Saturdays, because that's what I feel like I'm doing. I feel like I'm following Beyond the Pond with Kevin Fallness. There was no Micheletti, which is disappointing, but it was Halvey, it was Russo, it was who was just on? I don't even know who was on.
John Morosi, okay. NHL Network.
NHL Network. I've got NHL Network on in here. I got to find the remote so I can change it. I feel like it's Beyond the Pond. And we will, believe it or not, talk a little hockey today because it is Tuesday, and one of the World Junior Ambassadors, Lou Nanne, will make his weekly appearance on Bumper to Bumper. He will join me, I believe, at 5:30. Get his thoughts on the tournament so far. I want to get your thoughts on the tournament so far, Brett, as a guy who's attended, as a proud American.
That's right.
I am heading tomorrow. They play Sweden tomorrow, right, at Grand Casino Arena.
Good game.
That one is for Group A supremacy, right? We're already in the quarterfinals, and Group A supremacy is on the line tomorrow right here on the Fan after the Wild game.
If you want to most likely avoid Canada until the gold medal game, you got to win. Okay. You got to beat Sweden.
But Canada seems like they're kind of scuffling a little bit. I know they are about to win Group B. They have a game tomorrow for Group B supremacy as well, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't they just grind by somebody like 2-1? I know McKenna, your guy, right? Gavin, is that his name? He had a hat trick the other day. They just beat somebody 9-1. But I thought the Canadians were scuffling a little bit, and none of their fans are coming down. That's what I've been told. The arena is empty for the Canadian games. Is that fair? That's what I've been reading, that nobody wants to come. Ticket sales are bad. They shouldn't have had it in the state of hockey. We're going to get to that, I think, maybe even as recently as next segment. But I'm looking forward to going tomorrow because it looks awesome. It looks very fun.
It's a blast. I can't wait.
All right. I've been, in the last week, I've been, if you want to broaden it out, in the last 2 weeks, I've been to Des Moines, Iowa, your town.
Yes.
I've been to Phoenix, your other town.
Yes.
I've been to Bloomington, Indiana, Barreiro's town, and that is a football town now. They have Rose Bowl stuff all over the place. I was there, whatever day this is, Tuesday, so I was there yesterday for a Gopher women's basketball game, got there on Sunday night. And I got to admit, I'm a little embarrassed as a Minnesotan coming back home. And I've only been home for basically 2 days in the last week or so because I was in Phoenix for the better part of a week for Christmas stuff, and then the Rate Bowl, which I know you were watching with rapt attention.
Locked in.
The overtime thriller, because we were all thinking we need more Rate Bowl. We needed an extra 5 minutes.
Well, once they put the rate into question, then I was like, we got to have more of it just to make sure we get it.
When it was the guaranteed Rate Bowl, you were fine with just a game in regulation. Once they made it a little bit murkier and said, we're going to give you a rate, we're not going to guarantee it. You're just going to have to trust us. I know I was thinking free football, and thankfully it was in the middle of the afternoon, which was more helpful. But last time we were in Phoenix, it was like a 10 o'clock Central PM time game. And so I'm in Arizona, and good for me.
It's beautiful.
It was phenomenal. It was so nice. And of the 5 days I was there, I want to say the temperature dipped below 60 for like 10 minutes, it felt like. And then rained a little bit, I think, on Christmas. But other than that, it was basically 70s and sunny like the whole time.
So good.
It's one of those where you question your life's choices. You question your ancestors. I think the first generation of guards that came here from Norway. And I have a picture of this gentleman. His name was Rasmus Gaard. He looks a lot like me. No surprise. We have strong genes. Rasmus Gaard, they settled here in the Midwest. And that's where you just question your ancestors' decisions. Like, we couldn't have been a part of the gold rush. Like, we couldn't have, westward expansion, manifest destiny. We couldn't have figured out a way to get maybe a little south, Rasmus. Like, we had to just post up here in the cornfields and the frozen tundra. Because once, as you know, Although your dad lives in Atlanta now, so that's better. And now your sister lives in Phoenix, so she's breaking the
I'm really the only one left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once you put down roots in the Midwest, nobody ever leaves. In Minnesota, that's like exponential, which frustrates me. And I've told my children, like, we're breaking that curse. You guys go wherever you want. Part of the reason why you're on all these vacations, figure out where you want to live when you're an adult, and mommy and daddy will come find you. Like, don't worry about sticking here, because it's just ridiculous. But the reason I'm embarrassed as a Minnesotan is because I'm in the checkout line at the Walgreens in Phoenix. You can get anything at Walgreens, right? And we needed some stuff. And I noticed at the checkout counter at Walgreens, and I tweeted about this, they had for sale hand warmers in Phoenix. Hand warmers. And I just had to be like, are we serious with this? What is going on? It's like 72 degrees and sunny. The lowest it's going to get in the next 6 months is 57. I can't imagine how long have these hand warmers been here? And I scoffed at the whole notion that these people are so soft and don't know how to handle themselves and need to toughen up a little bit. Nut up, as the texters to the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line would tell Barreiro and me. 64686. So we come back, and there's the massive snowami this past weekend. And when we say massive snowami, we got like 6 inches, I think. Do you have any other weather reports? I mean, did we get more than that? Was it a foot?
I mean, Apple Valley got 2 feet.
We know Apple Valley is still digging out.
Yes.
And our prayers are with Apple Valley. But it wasn't very much, right? Like when I think snowami or blizzard, I don't know, maybe I think Halloween of 91, or maybe I think 2 feet, maybe I think 1.5 feet. But I looked it up today. The metro area, Minneapolis, St. Paul, got like 6 inches. Okay, that was on Sunday, correct? The snowstorm started on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday going into Monday.
So today's Tuesday. Why are the roads still so bad?
Yes.
It's dreadful today. I get home last night. We land about 11. I'm home about midnight. The roads are awful. Monday night. Awful. And there's no one on them, thankfully, because it's the middle of the night and I'm getting home. And so as I'm driving to the U today, so here was my day today. Not that anybody asked, but why is my voice like this? At 9:15, we did the Dawn Plitzowite TV show. At 10:15, we did the Pair and a Spare podcast. At noon, you may have heard it on the Fan. I did the Nico Medved radio show with Grimmer. And now I'm here for the next 3.5 hours. So buckle up. Because I haven't slept very much. My voice sounds like this, and I'm tired. But how 2 days after, not even what I would consider like a full snowami, are the roads everywhere atrocious? I just want some help because I'm embarrassed a little bit as a Minnesotan because we always laugh about how no one else can handle this stuff like we can. Our airport is better than everybody's, which I know, it's my favorite airport, but they're great at moving the snow off the runways and getting the flights going. And I know there were some delays and stuff on Sunday. We had a little bit of a delay. Going to Bloomington, the Wolves were waiting with us at the terminal there to get on their plane to Chicago. They had some issues. But I just want a little information. In the spirit of the normal host of this show, 3 to 6:30, I feel like this is something that he would be addressing. Does it make any sense that our roads are this bad still? Going back from the U, driving through downtown, it felt like there was still 4 inches of snow and cars were sliding all over the place. So what was it about this storm? Was it that it got really cold right after and the snow froze and you can't move it? I just feel like, because I know that we were all prepared for this. It was kind of a sneaky snowami. It popped up, I think, like late Friday, early Saturday, that we were going to be dealing with some stuff.
But that's still days of prep time. You know what I mean? Are we not pre-treat the roads anymore?
You would think. And I know down south, they got pounded, Apple Valley for sure.
Yes.
But a little bit further south, they basically shut down everything, which is the smart decision, which is what you should do. But why on Tuesday, 2 full days after, really, okay, a day and a half, our roads are still bad. The ice is still there. We have all the proper things, right? I know we took plows off the road for a while at different spots because it was too dangerous. And is that the only logical explanation? Because I remember being at the Super Bowl that your Packers won, the last one, Aaron Rodgers against Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, 2010, Fort Worth, Texas. I was there, tasted the NFL. Sinekin did Packer preview from my hotel room because I had the equipment from doing a couple of shows on Radio Row, and Cindy had to come to Fort Worth. It's one of my favorite moments ever. It's like 8 a.m. I'm in my shorts, and Cindy comes in to talk about the Super Bowl.
Middle school Brett was very excited.
Yeah, one of the most ridiculous memories ever. David. But there was an ice storm that week in Fort Worth, and they are not equipped for that, right? They don't have plows. I think they were bringing in plows from like Atlanta or somewhere. Just all systems go. We need to get some help here. We're not supposed to need that in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So what has happened to us? What has happened the last 2 days where a day and a half after, not the 91 Halloween blizzard, we are still dealing with roads that are this seemingly impassable? What have I missed?
So I'm glad you brought this up because I brought it up yesterday with Sinekin, and I kept getting texts, well, it's your car. You've got a small car. You don't have winter tires. It's not just me.
No.
It's you.
No.
And the ride to Grand Casino Arena yesterday, I thought for sure was going to be fine. I've lived in the city since 2019, which isn't a whole lot, but I've seen snow-namis in my day, and my car's never been an issue more than 2 hours after the snowfall ends. They're always good about that. It's still bad right now, and it's not even my car. It's visually you can see ice and snow on the road still.
The roads are not clear. The roads have not been cleared. That's what's weird to me. And it's not my car. You hear the commercials. Charlie Swanson, Lexus of Wayzata.
Ding.
I'm driving the TX right now. It's unbelievable. It handles very well. I love driving this vehicle, and they've got the December to Remember sales event going on right now. If you'd like a 4-wheel drive Lexus TX that will handle itself in weather like this.
But you shouldn't have to.
But a day and a half after, what are we doing? We're Minnesota. This is the bold north. This isn't Dallas. This isn't Atlanta. What's the interstate that goes through Atlanta? 75, right? We always see when they get
285, yeah.
Yeah, okay. We always get when they get 2 inches of snow, you'll see people are just leaving their cars because they can't imagine ever moving off of the interstate again. These stories have actually happened. I feel like that's where we are right now. And I feel embarrassed because 6 days ago, I'm in a Paradise Valley, Arizona Walgreens, just north of Scottsdale. I'm scoffing that they're selling hand warmers when it's going to be 57 degrees. Like, these people don't know how soft they are. We're the soft ones. I need some answers.
Celebrate the Twin Cities music scene at First Avenue's Best New Bands Saturday, January 17th. 7 rising stars take the stage. Don't miss out on the future of Minnesota music. Full details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
So we can blame the rain. We can blame how quickly the snow fell. We can blame the wind. We can blame the temperatures. That is why, according to our MnDOT sources and weather sources and road sources, maybe we should have Carl Gerbschmidt call in. Maybe
the roads would be clear as could be if Kirby was in charge.
I know this isn't his district, and I know he had a little bit of a tough week last week. I imagine you did as well. I've not seen you since the Packers season kind of imploded. We're going to talk about the least anticipated border battle that I can remember in a really long time, which is too bad because the Vikings hilariously could end up with a winning record through all of the meltdowns that they've had at the quarterback position and other things here. We'll see what happens this weekend. Gaardsy in for Barreiro today. Another weird schedule this week because we've got a couple of holidays coming up. We've got the Wild game tomorrow. We've got the World Juniors coming in tomorrow. So I'll be in today. I'll be in on Friday for a little while as well. We've got the World Junior quarterfinals on Friday. Hal will be front and center with that. I did catch a little bit of that within the last couple of days. Doing a great job. No surprise. High energy Halby. He'll surprise you. Right? I mean, you watch him on the stream every morning, and it doesn't look like he's got much ambition or will to live. But once you throw a hockey puck out in front of him and say, tell us what's going on, all of a sudden, high-energy Halby pops up, and it's like a completely different person. So doing a great job with Mark Parrish, and looking forward to that continuing to roll on as the United States continues to roll on. So freezing rain preceded the 6 inches. It rained, so it was too warm for the road treatment to work. Then it froze. Early snow was heavy and wet, and the temp dropped like a rock, so that crap all froze. Snow-nami started as rain. It was 38. Then it dropped 25 degrees. It got all packed down and froze. A lot of people talking about why we don't have money for the plows in MnDOT, and you can imagine where those have gone. It seems like I've missed a lot when it comes to a fraud in Minnesota since I've been gone.
Various daycares taking away plow money.
Your Edina entitlement is showing. It rained before the snow and then got so frigid the chemicals didn't work. I live in Minnetonka right now. There's no entitlement there. There's none. I moved out of Edina. There's no entitlement in Minnetonka. It's completely a blue-collar suburb. You were saying?
Is it weird that I just don't care about any of these excuses? Like, Minneapolis should be able to handle this.
Yeah, no, I get
why it may be a little more difficult, but if there's anywhere, at least in America, if not the world, that could be able to handle this, it should be here.
Yeah.
So I don't care that it was freezing rain.
I understand that part of it, that you feel like we should be able to solve just about anything. I do get that because we are Minnesota and we do theoretically have the smartest people on it with the most experience with it. And I would imagine the best technology. And so I get that instinct. I guess my question is, so how long are we waiting? How long until the roads are passable again? We did the Camelback Mountain, the East Canyon Trail. Have you ever done that?
I've seen it.
Yeah, so we did that.
Hole in the Rock, the whole bit.
Hole in the Rock's great. Yeah, Hole in the Rock's more my speed, but my kids wanted to do Camelback, and they're 11, 9, and 7, and the 7-year-old's got no shot. I mean, she's not going to be able to go all the way up, especially the East Canyon, Echo Canyon Trail. And so we went up to the little saddle thing on Christmas Day, and then I said, all right, my 11-year-old really wanted to go, and I said, let's just go around the corner here and we'll check it out. We'll see. Because I talked to some people. I hadn't done it since I was a kid, so I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And following some people, and you go up, and right after you kind of get to that saddle part on Camelback is when you really start. Now, scaling is probably a little bit dramatic, but it's where you can't just walk. Like, you do have to hold on to like a railing, and you've got to kind of slide your way to the fence. And I'm looking at these people up there, and I'm like, number one, I don't want to do that myself. No. If it was just my wife and me, I didn't wake up today on Christmas morn and say, hey, I'd love to scale a mountain. That's hiking, surprisingly, is not going to be my thing. Okay. I know that stuns a lot of people. And
Todd's don't climb.
And then I'm thinking about my kids, and there's 2 adults, there's 3 kids. How's that going to work when I don't really want to do it? And I'm going to have to help them along the way. I bring all that up because that's where I deemed the road was impassable. And I said, we're not going to do it. We're turning around. They were all mad. They were bitter. I don't know how we bought them off or how we got out of that situation, but that's what I want to know about these roads. Like, at what day? Is it am I waiting until 2026 before I'm not worried about every car I pass sliding into me? Because I do think it was a weird storm. But I don't understand how 36 hours after it, we haven't been able to figure out. Again, it's been cold, but there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way to make it a little bit more impassable 36 hours after 6 inches of snow.
Isn't that the whole selling point of the chemical? And I'm the furthest thing from a scientist, but isn't that the whole selling point, is that it can melt these things and get rid of them in freezing conditions? Like your antifreeze or your windshield wiper fluid.
The bags of salt and all the ice melt that you buy at your local Fratelloni's Ace Hardware or Home Depot or Menards, like, it's all supposed to cut right through it. And I've seen it happen. I have to use it on my driveway because I don't shovel as quickly as we should. And that was a problem. We were both gone on Sunday, so our driveway's a mess right now.
Yeah. I just don't care how the storm was 2 days later is just unacceptable for this town and this state. It just is.
Yeah, so be safe, everybody. I guess is the moral of the first 30 minutes of the show. Don't go anywhere if you don't need to, because it sucks out there. It's not fun. And I'm actually surprised in this little gap week that we all have between, Christmas, the holidays, and New Year's. I'm actually surprised there's so many people running around. I was surprised that the roads were pretty full today as I was driving down to the U this morning. I give everybody credit for getting up and going to work. That's good. Or wherever you were going, but don't leave just because it's not fun. It is not fun out there right now. Somehow, and I thought for sure I'd wake up today and it'd be smooth sailing, like it'd be a July morning.
I thought I would drive in to Sinekin yesterday and it'd be smooth sailing.
That's a little ambitious.
I don't think so. I mean, that's a good 3-4 hours from when the snowfall stopped. Yeah. That's standard protocol here. Yeah. As long as I've lived here.
That was a little ambitious.
Maybe.
That was a little. Did you get here on time?
It was close.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Yeah.
And I know you were in a rush to talk about this game and the week that was.
Yeah.
I know you were really fired up to get here.
Yeah.
I know Kevin Seifert is fired up to talk about this game. Speaking of Gutty, he made the trip in. He does not find the Virginian, the East Metro guy, or the East Coast guy, he's not daunted. He showed up in studio. Text for Seifert. He's going to be here for a while because I don't think he should leave. I think he should stay here till 6:30 and let the roads clear out. 64686 is the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line. You can also tweet me at Gaardsy. You can hit the talk back if you'd like to. We got a million different ways that you can connect with us, and we will connect with Kevin Seifert in studio when we come back.
Man.
Countdown to 2026 with our Purple Talkback Tuesday. Just open the iHeartRadio app, hit the red microphone icon when you're on KFAN, and in 30 seconds or less, tell us your favorite Vikings moment from 2025. Winners picked all day. Full details, KFAN.com, keyword contest.
Frozen roads won't stop Kevin Seifert from first getting out to Egan a little bit earlier today for Vikings availability, and now joining us in studio. He'll be in studio for a minute. You can hit the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line 64686 with questions for the reporter from ESPN. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I will report that 494 is pretty clear right now, as is 100. But once you get off the freeways, it's anybody's ball game.
You've done, you're a reporter, so when you walked in, you actually did the research to let us know why the roads may be in the condition that they're still in. Anything you'd like to outline?
I can only report what's on the MDOT website, which says when pavement temperature drops below 15 Fahrenheit, the effectiveness of salt is decreased significantly. And I didn't keep a minute-by-minute logging of the temperatures yesterday, but it was cold.
Yes.
And so like way below 15. And so according to the website, at lower temperatures, MDOT will begin adding other chemicals to the salt, such as calcium chloride or magnesium chloride, that will lower the freezing point further.
Okay. So where's that?
I think that this is an issue of calcium chloride, magnesium chloride, and that's where the rub is. And so if any biochemists want to call in, or any MDOT people want to call in and let you know, because I'm okay, but let you know
good?
If that was in fact applied, and if not, who's to answer to that.
Do you drive a Lexus TX four-wheel drive as well?
No, I didn't,
but
I'm glad you devoted an entire first segment just to let the audience know what you drive.
December sales event's about another week.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Never been a better time to get a Lexus. I recommend Lexus of Wayzata or Lexus of Maplewood. Do you think all those things, those chemicals that you just mentioned, could I stake my children into creating those somehow in their time away from school, where all they want to do is play Xbox right now? Could I give them something more productive?
In the old days, we used to get like chemical chemistry kits.
I remember.
And those were fun for some kids. May or may not have been me. But we used to like pour all different kinds of stuff together and see what blew up. So yes, as long as you're aware that the wrong chemicals mixing together can cause an explosion.
All right. Thank you for doing the reporting there.
Always.
And we will move on. 33 minutes into the show. We'll move on.
I think we have our answer.
Yeah, we do. You got here, you started covering the Vikings for the Star Tribune what year?
1999.
1999. And then you went right from there to NFC North blogger, right?
Correct.
For ESPN. And then you had like a couple of gap years, right? Where you weren't the NFC North blogger.
A couple 9 years, yep.
Yeah. And then you came back to cover the team.
Right.
Among other things. Long windup to say, how many border battles have been less anticipated than the one we're about to see this weekend?
I mean, it might be the worst. There was the year that they had such a quarterback depth issue, and so many guys were getting hurt, that I think Brooks Bollinger ended up starting a game at Lambeau. That game was interesting just to see, Brooks play, because he was a good guy. We enjoyed covering him, and it was kind of cool that a local guy was gonna start a regular season game, much like your guy,
Max Brosmer.
And
we'll get to him.
There was some drama and interest in that game, but this one is about as consequence-free as they get, I think.
Yeah, it's too bad. What's funny to me is that the Vikings can somehow end up with a winning record this season.
Yeah,
despite all of
the Vikings
crap.
win, and we know the Packers are already locked in to the 7th seed, and so if the Vikings win, they'll finish the year essentially a half game out of the playoffs, because the Packers have that tie with the Cowboys changing their record around. So it'd be 9-7-1 and 9-8. And so it'll lead to an entire off seasons of what ifs and if only this. And I posted something on X about it, and the conversation was actually pretty interesting and in depth. And almost every responder on social media had a different point in the season where if that one thing had changed,
right,
the Vikings would be in the playoffs, whether it was the kick return against Chicago when they thought they had that game lined up, or, this interception or that decision. And so, it will be interesting to see 8-9 or 9-8, how this end of year, winning streak will affect not only, I don't think it'll affect the Vikings decision making a whole lot in the offseason.
Okay.
But how it affects just the way people feel about the season in general.
Which team is more likely to have their starting quarterback play?
Well, it sounds like the Packers are 0%.
Like they're going to hold him out.
Even if Jordan Love, gets out of concussion protocol, which I think people believe he will if he hasn't already, there's no reason to play him, and it sounds like they're already on record saying it's not going to.
Okay, so he's got a shoulder thing, too, he's dealing with, right?
Malik Willis has a shoulder for sure,
right.
But Jordan Love, I know was in the protocol, and that's the reason he didn't play last week. From I understand, like the Vikings really, they really want J.J. McCarthy to play this game.
Well, they should.
Yeah. And so, there's definitely the line of thought of, well, it's a throwaway game. Like he's, let's not set him up for another injury or set him back in the off season when he really has a lot of work to do ahead of him from a, mechanical and fundamentals and just,
base, balance, body, Brosmer.
Building up his body and all those things. And so I guess an injury in this game could set that process back. But look, he's missed too much time already. We've talked so much about, and I agree that, he's in need of snaps more than anything else, in terms of his development and progress. And so we even talked a few weeks ago about whether they should have played him more in the preseason. And this is at least a half step up from a preseason game, I think, because it'll count in the record book and the stats will count. And so it's a little bit more significant than that. And so even if it's just that kind of vibe, a preseason-y kind of game, like snaps, decisions, seeing, building the muscle memory of his mechanics, like all good things. And, you don't want to go out there when he doesn't really feel good about whether he can, physically throw the ball because of the hand. But I think that they feel from a medical standpoint that it's at least possible that he will be able to do it.
How much discussion has there been about, is he just unlucky this season or is he injury prone?
The discussion that I think is interesting is really not either. It's more like play style. Like if you go to, some of the injuries, at least, the knee, he was just running in the open field, that he was trying to make a move on a guy. And I think when they went and sleuthed it back out, they found a point where he had sort of cut, and tried to break a tackle. And, when he suffered his ankle injury, he was trying to run for a first down on 3rd and 16 and didn't slide and didn't try to avoid contact, which is admirable, but got him hurt. This hand thing was either, it appears as though it happened when he was extending a play outside the pocket and hadn't really thrown in rhythm per se. And, then the concussion, he was running, kind of not wildly, but like,
right.
In a way that like, you don't really need to do that, whether the game's over or not. And so, and I asked Justin Jefferson about this either last week or the week before, like, do you think he needs to change his play style? And he kind of said, well, he still plays like he's a kid. And that was a perfect explanation of the way J.J. McCarthy plays. It's fun to watch, it's probably fun to be around and, and it's, it's contagious, but he's just, and Josh Allen can do it, but he's not Josh Allen. He's not 6'5". He's not 250 pounds. He's not built to take that kind of hit as much as he, is a hockey player at heart and loves the contact and it's helped them in some cases where he's just been willing to keep, trying to get extra yards to get first downs or in some cases touchdowns. So it's been beneficial on the field, but it is not beneficial in the long term. And so, it's hard to know, like biologically, if he's more prone to have damage. He's not built like a guy that can take.
Right.
I think he averages like 10, quarterback contacts a game, whether it's a sack or a tackle or just a hit in the pocket. And that's one of the highest rates in the league. And he's just not built, and not many guys are at this level, built to take those kind of hits year after year and still play 17 games. And so there's definitely an art to avoiding contact, and you're not being a wuss and you're not being soft. You're just optimizing the chance that you can be there for your team. And so Tom Brady talked a lot about this when he played, and it wasn't by accident that he was playing after he tore his ACL, that he was playing 16, 17 games a year every year into his 40s. There's an art and a science and a skill level in avoiding contact and anticipating it. And the number one thing is getting rid of the ball quickly.
But is not his athleticism somewhat of a beneficial factor for him?
Yeah. But it's like it needs to. There's time and place for it, for sure. But there has the skill and the art of avoiding the direct hits needs to be, like, you think about the touchdown he scored in New York, and O'Connell talked about it, and he thought he had a concussion again because he lowered his head and went into some guy, and as it turned out, the contact wasn't as severe as it looked from far away. But whether you need to just get lower or slide and just live for another day. I know a lot of his touchdown runs have been on third down, so I get it. And the gritty one was on fourth down in Dallas. And so, I get the mentality, but you weigh it all, and like, you will not play 17 games routinely in the NFL by taking the amount of hits that he takes.
I'm just thinking about, I was watching the Sunday night game. What a great game. Bears-Niners. Did you catch much of that one?
I sure did, every bit of it.
And Brock Purdy was playing like a kid on that one touchdown, right? Yeah. Like, he could have gotten smoked a couple of times, but so that's what made me think of the play like a kid. Like, and I think even Collinsworth said that same phrase. Oh, he's playing like a kid out there, just running around, unbelievable.
But when he took off, like, he was not close to being like, I can't remember exactly. I don't think he took a lot of a direct hit on either one of those.
No, he did not.
I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns, and it's not just like you're lucky because the defense, like, it's vision. It's like it's knowing what direction to turn and how far to push it. Like, there's definitely. As much as he can learn to be more accurate, as much as he can learn to, all the different things a quarterback can do, like learning to avoid contact is a skill.
All right. Seifert will be here for a little while. You can hit the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line 64686. The A topic this week in Egan appears to be the Flonami future, the future of Brian Flores. I know you wrote about it. And I also watched a video that Shefty put together on it because ESPN gives you both of those options.
Yes.
I did both.
I appreciate that.
And you, being the venerable veteran reporter that you are, straight up asked Flo today.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to be here?
Yeah.
Here's what he said.
Do I want to come back?
Minnesota next year.
I mean, like I just said, I love Minnesota. I love this team. I love working, for and with KO. He's been fantastic to me. I think the Wolves are some of the best owners in the league. I love these players, the coaching staff, And like I said, this place has shown me a lot of love, and I show it right back. And so I don't know how much more there is to it. I mean, it's if everything lines up and it fits, from a football standpoint, it fits, and I think there's always let's call it a business part of this, and the football all lines up, and we'll just see where it all goes.
So if I was putting together a TikTok of that, would I need to then throw Jerry Maguire, show me the money on the back end of that? How do you decipher and decode what Flo had to say today?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the simplest explanation, is that he was just basically saying, like, the business side of it. Now, is the business side only money? Is it, some kind of other, guarantees that he wants in terms of, I mean, it doesn't happen much in the NFL, but like succession plans. If Kevin O'Connell ever decided to go sit on a beach in Bermuda instead of being a coach, there's, and I'm not saying that this is what he's asking for, but I'm just trying to think out loud of other things other than just straight finances. Like, is there some commitment, whether it's in writing or not, in terms of supporting the defensive personnel choices that he wants? in ensuring that a certain amount of money is always spent on the defense. Again, not sure that that's what he's asking for, but I suppose there's other potential things other than just straight money. Because I think if it was money, I don't think that we would be here right now. And so when you ask him, do you want to come back? And he tells you what he just said, he never said, yes, I want to come back.
Right.
And so that was the other part. But I think that's, he's gotten this close to free agency. Coaches, this almost never happens. And so there's no reason not to let it play out for a little bit. The Vikings are not going to, I don't think, put a deadline on it and say, if you don't tell us by next Monday, good luck and good riddance. They're going to let it play out, and they're going to hope that their offer and their the familiarity they have and the freedom he has here in terms of scheme and in terms of personnel and the influence he has on personnel will be a package that is the most desirable to him. But he can't know that unless he gets out there. And probably there's been some behind the scenes talks, as there always are, even though tampering rules exist. But I think in terms of getting the fullest picture, you would have to wait until that point.
Tampering rules, they exist in college football as well.
Is that right?
They do, apparently. But people in the know have told me about a concept called pre-portaling, which is, I guess, conversations with people somehow, some way before they actually go into the portal. It's a fancy way of saying tampering.
Pre-gaming.
Pre-portaling. Yeah. So Flo may be doing some pre-portaling. How rare is it to have a coach with his, obviously record as a coach here and clearly respect? I'm going to get what KOC said about him earlier in the week. How did they get to this point where his contract is that they all decided we're going to just let this thing run its course and see where we are in a year? What was the thinking behind that, as far as you know?
I think it was mostly on Flores' side and not so much that he wanted out, which, the number one reason that you would do this is that you want to be able to leave your contract. You want to be able to leave your job without getting fired, I guess. And so I don't think he was going to be fired. And so in theory, the reason to do this is to give yourself the chance to go somewhere else if you don't like it anymore. In sort of the loftiest, most optimistic thing is it's a way to ensure that the good job that you've done is rewarded and appreciated and potentially desired in a different way by another club, and just doesn't happen very much because most coordinators leave either to become a head coach or they get fired. There's only a few that kind of just do the rollover contracts because they've lost their ambition or didn't want, in terms of being a head coach, or didn't want to be a head coach anymore. It didn't work out, or don't view themselves like Steve Spagnuolo in Kansas City, or Vic Fangio had a run as a head coach, but I think now he's kind of back in the defensive coordinator cycle. And so those guys tend to move around for a lot of different reasons. Either they get fired, they get a head coaching job, or the head coach they're working for gets fired and the new head coach wants to do it. So you just don't see this sort of combination of reasons or a combination of circumstances that lead to this. And that's what makes it so unusual. But I don't get the sense that he wants to leave. I don't get the sense that, and I certainly, after what Kevin O'Connell said yesterday that you referenced, think that they want him to leave. And so I think it's just, he's done a really good job, and it's a rare case where, because of the lawsuit and because of some other circumstances, that he's, hasn't been hired yet as a head coach. And so he's got the ability and skill level and production to be able to force this circumstance that most defensive coordinators or offensive coordinators just can't achieve for various reasons, and so he's going to explore it.
That was kind of my next question. What is his current viability as a head coach because of all the things that you just referenced?
Yeah, he's had another great year as a coordinator. I don't feel like the fundamental circumstances of his head coaching candidacy has changed very much, other than just the passage of time. The lawsuit is still out there. It's still active. It's still, the NFL's trying to get it into arbitration and out of the public sphere, and Flores is still trying to keep it in the public sphere. This is what lawyers get paid to do, and so it's been going on for almost 4 years now, and so and then over that time, other circumstances arose too, including the comments from his quarterbacks in Miami, Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua. And, people will say, well, Tua had a bad year this year, so what he said doesn't have as much relevance. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. And then, he still is a human being, and he was the starting quarterback at the time, and what he said about the way he felt he was being treated is still valid. I mean, it's the way he felt. And so, and so I don't think any of the circumstances have changed. I think there's still a narrow window for the type of team that he would be a legitimate candidate for, not one that would put him on their interview list, but that would really legitimately want to hire him. There's some teams in this cycle that are going to be looking for an offensive coach,
the next Ben Johnson,
and that's just the way it is. And you could say that's dumb. You could say that you need to get a leader of men and the best overall candidate, but that's what some teams are going to do, and it'll work for some, and for some it won't. There's other people who, will just, the lawsuit and all the other things will just not be interested in even considering him. And then there'll be some teams that might consider him, but who is going to be the advocate that goes to the owner of that team and says, I vouch for Brian Flores. I know there's a lot out there about him, but, I vouch for him. And so it would probably need to be somebody that he has, whether it's a front office person or some trusted advisor to an owner to talk them into that. And so it doesn't mean that it can't happen and it certainly doesn't mean that it shouldn't happen, but that narrower window than a lot of other candidates to me still exists.
On the Tua stuff, it refreshed my memory, but I thought he responded to that, I thought, pretty well.
Yeah.
A year ago, right? It was last year.
Yeah, it was last summer.
Saying, you never like to hear that. You never like to hear that that's how I think he used Brian Flores in the third person, right?
Yeah.
And I would also say, because
the words used were, he's a terrible person.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't even like terrible coach.
Right.
It wasn't even like, he doesn't know what he's doing, a little more or less personal and cutting things that you could say about a coach that you didn't like. And so, again, one person's observations of somebody could be much different. I think there's a lot of people around the league who don't think that of Brian Flores for sure. And maybe there's, it's other people besides Tua, but for a quarterback to kind of, be as, demonstrative about it as Tua was, I think, caught some eyes. And I know Joe Banner, who used to be he was a front office person with Philadelphia and Cleveland, was involved in a lot of hiring coaches, and I think he still advises teams on that in sort of a consultant role. And he put on X the other day that, in terms of Flores, he's like, one thing owners will think about is all the things that came out in the lawsuit, that it's not just that he's suing the league and that there's some kind of retribution, but that a lot of private communications came out that happened in Miami came out in that lawsuit, and also with other, with Bill Belichick and some other people. And that was all in service of proving the case. And that's the way lawsuits work.
Right.
But that's another thing that people would have to get past is, he's already, when he was a head coach last time, the private conversations were made public. And so, again, there was a reason why that happened. And a lot of people think that it's a very admirable reason in terms of trying to achieve more fair hiring practices around the league. But to think that the reason that the lawsuit would hold him back is only because it's like retribution, I think is also folly. Like, there's some people who have issues with just the fact that it became a lawsuit in the first place.
Sure, that makes sense. In terms of the Tua stuff and the terrible, and this, guys sometimes become a different person when they become the head coach for the first time, right? And I also think people can change, and I don't know Brian Flores from anybody, right? But I see how the current Vikings defensive players talk about him. Yeah. It seems to paint a much different picture than what his old quarterbacks say.
Yeah, and Flores said last year that he's worked to he didn't claim that this came out of nowhere, that he's never said anything or done anything that would be objectionable. He said, it's trying to work on myself every day, and
aren't we all?
People grow, yeah, for sure. And so, but it's still something that's always going to be out in the ether, and something that at the very least he'll have to defend. It's an additional deficit that he has to overcome, that that other candidates might not.
How indispensable do you believe KOC believes he is to the operation, the culture, the organization?
Well, I think he's well aware of the impact that he's had, and that, certain, it's, I was going to say like that it's how much better it has been for the overall team than it was in 2022 when the defense coordinator was Ed Donatel and the defense was terrible, but they also won 13 games that year. So it's, you can't really necessarily put the data behind it, but I think he's well aware that there's been lots of games over the past few years where had the defense not performed the way it did, the Vikings would not have won. And so that it's definitely become a strong asset. It doesn't play lights out, 1985 Chicago Bears every single week, but by and large, in the age of, NFL offenses more than ever before, he's consistently put a defense that has a good chance to hold the other team to a low enough total of points that the offense can do its part as well. And so I think he's well aware of how much he's impacted the organization, and I think they both have kind of learned, they knew each other a little bit, but they have both learned how each other works too. And I think that's important as well. And so there's no desire that I can tell whatsoever for O'Connell to want to part ways with Brian Flores. And so, we'll see how it goes.
When we come back with Kevin Seifert, one more question about Flo. We've also got more Vikings questions to get to, as well as some NFL things at large. You can hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line 64686. We'll kick off the second hour with Seifert after.